Yes, Gain Seekers, I hope you're all doing well and I hope you started your day in a positive way. You're joining us here at an early morning breakfast podcast. And as you can see, we don't actually have any breakfast because we're intermittent fasters.
Intermittent.
So that's actually
Fastings.
So that's actually how you have a breakfast for intermittent fasting. There is no breakfast. It's like that Peter Pan film where you have to pretend that you've got something to eat. So again, as always, excited to go through the questions that you guys have asked. There's some really good ones here. So I can't wait to get into it, really. We'll go straight into it, Yasser. Because we don't have the longest time here. I'm actually doing this podcast before I'm about to go away on holiday. But you know what it is I want to make sure that I get this information out to you guys because I hate you waiting around. So let's go through it and begin straight away. So the first question is, right, and as always, I'll go first and Yasser will go afterwards and we'll just give you our opinions on what we think the best route forward is. So the first question that I've been asked is that, look, I've been on a hard cut and I'm in the best shape of my life. What would you say is the best way to go from that cut in terms of bulking up without getting fat? Because I've tried it in the past and every time I've got fat, right? So
Fucking sounds like us. Sounds
exactly
familiar.
that. So in regards to your question there, so if you've been on a hard cut, right? So you've been, on a fat loss phase, you've been dieting hard, you've been in a deficit, you've been doing your cardio, and now you're in a situation where you're in the shape of your life, right? So you're the best shape that you've ever been in. What a lot of people don't realize is that, first of all, getting into great shape, obviously it's an amazing journey because you get to see your body in more muscular condition than you've ever seen it, right? You get to see really the development that you've built. So always getting into great shape is a great experience. Yeah, it's tough, it's challenging, but it's so worth it. What a lot of people don't realize is that a hard cut where you get into great condition and drop a lot of body fat will actually set you up for an amazing bulking phase. This is where a lot of people go wrong and they don't realize. When you're getting into great condition and you're on a fat loss program and you're getting down to the best shape you've ever been in, that actually primes your body for what could be, and the word is could because I'm going to go into this now, could be the best bulk you've ever done. And that's to be honest with you, that's the only reason why I used to get ripped. I'm not really into the ripped look, but what it was is that I knew that it would almost create a springboard for me, right, to launch new muscle gains. And Dorian Yates covered this extensively. I think he was one of the pioneers who really showed what you can do when you've been on a hard fat loss phase, coming out of that, if you do things right, how you can gain muscle. So the thing you've got to remember is this, right? There's a couple of things that I want to go through with you guys about this. And anyone who's done a hard cut before and gone into a bulk will know exactly where I'm coming from. So first of all, you've got yourself into the condition of your life, right? You've been dieting for a good amount of time. You've been doing a lot of cardio, right? And you've got yourself into the best condition, lowest body fat that you've been. What you've got to realize is that after a phase like that, your body is incredibly sensitive, right? Your insulin sensitivity is going to be through the roof, right? Your body's going to be able to utilize food more efficiently than it ever has been able to, right? And you've got a situation there where if you control how you reverse out of that diet with your food, you can actually gain a lot of muscle tissue. And if you know how to keep your body sensitive, right, you can really utilize that to springboard new muscle gains. The flip side of that is this, is that if you do what most people do when they come out of a hard cut phase and you just eat up too much too soon, all of a sudden, you're going to gain body fat. Yeah. And you're going to gain a lot of body fat. This is the crazy thing. You've got two possibilities coming out of a hard cut. One is that you gain back a lot of body fat. Two is that you gain a lot of muscle. So the question is, how do you navigate it? So obviously everyone here wants to gain a lot of muscle, right? That's the whole point of it. So the first thing that you've got to do is that you've got to be aware that when you come out of a cut, I would say coming out of a cut and being sensible with your food and the way that you reintroduce it and the way that you bring food into your diet again is actually harder than being on a cut. Honest to God, so many clients that I've worked with, Yasser will tell you this, I'm sure, in his answer, and I can tell you this from personal experience. I found it more difficult to stick to my diet coming out of a cut because you know what it is? It's a mental thing. So now when you're trying to lose body fat and you've got this goal of being ripped, right? You're almost tunnel vision, aren't you? You're like, okay, I know what I've got to do. I've got to get my diet in. I've got to push myself. I've got to do my cardio. I've got to drop this body fat. When you come out of that and you've got the idea of your head, well, now I'm trying to bulk. I'm trying to add muscle. It's very easy to give into your appetite, right? Because believe me now, coming out of that, your appetite is going to be through the roof. You've got to realize your body's going to respond hormonally in a way where it wants to put on some body fat, right? Your body doesn't know what you're trying to do. It doesn't know that you've got into shape because you want to look great. Your body just knows that it's been throughout a long duration of time, it's been under duress, right? You've been in a calorie deficit, right? You've been pushing your body in terms of cardio and training. So the first thing your body's going to want to do is replenish. And that will trigger your appetite, where you will start to feel like you've almost a bottomless pit. And what happens is this. In the beginning, in the first few days, you're eating a lot of food. You're eating, things that are not on plan, a bit of junk, and you're feeling look good. The pumps in the gym are crazy. You look in the mirror, everything's ballooning up 3D. You think to yourself, oh, do you know what? That's fine. Then 2-3 weeks later, you realize that you've gained 20, 30 pounds, right, of unwanted water, body fat, and very little muscle. Because how much tissue can you manufacture in that time? Hardly any, right? And then becomes the cycle of where you're like, oh no, I've got to diet down again. And I've seen so many people go through that. They work hard on their cut. And I've seen people do it for contest prep. They'll do a contest prep, get into amazing condition. And then because they haven't been mindful of how they've reversed out of that diet, how they've added food into their bulking phase, they again end up gaining a lot of body fat. So what I tell people is this, and this is what I do with clients, right? After I've had a client who's either on a contest prep or got into the condition of their life, got their body fat levels down very low, what we do is we have a transitional phase. This is key. So you don't just, and by the way, this works both ways, right? So you don't, if you've just done a hard cut, you've got into the best condition of your life, you're the leanest you've ever been, right? Your body fat's real low. You don't just go straight into a bulk. That's probably the worst thing that you could possibly do. What you do is you have a transitional period, right, where you get your body under control. So what you do is you slowly start to reintroduce food. Now, typically for most people, that's going to be a slow reintroduction of carbohydrates. Now, what I tell people is that, look, think logically. The best place for you to place your carbohydrates when you're increasing your food coming out of a cut, for most people what it is, most people are not dieting on a lot of carbs, right? The best place to place your carbs is going to be around your training. If you start to increase your diet just around your training, right? And, I'm going to throw out a number here. Let's say that you've got to monitor it and be accountable. So for each client, I'll add the amount of food that I think their body will respond well to, based on the understanding I've got of them cutting. But let's just say, for example, you add 150, 200 grams of carbs around your training, right? The key thing is this. Just like when you were losing body fat, you've got to stay accountable and you've got to monitor it. So first of all, as difficult as it may be hunger-wise, battle through that, because you will get that under control within a couple of weeks. Just add small increments of food, right? Again, I'm just using carbohydrates here as an example, but it could be extra fats. It could be even extra protein. Lock that in, right? So I'm going to add this much food for this week, right? And you don't want to have a huge drop. You don't want to be adding 2,000 calories. You don't want to be doing anything like that. Just an increase of about 500 to 600 calories should be more than enough. Then see how your body responds. What is the scale doing? How are you looking, right? How are you feeling in the gym? You should get better pumps. You should feel a bit stronger. And then what you need to do is you need to layer that up, right? Adding food in when needed. So if your weight goes up a couple of pounds, not the end of the world. Doesn't mean you have to pull back. All it means is that you just sit at this new food level for a couple of weeks. Let it embed within your body, right? Allow your body to get used to that new food intake. Train on that new food intake. And what you'll notice is that you'll stay in condition as your weight is going up. And that's what you want to do. Your goal coming out of a cut should be, how much condition can I keep? And how much can I actually gain? For me, I would always say to myself, okay, the first 15 to 20 pounds, because I'm a big guy, right? So we're talking about...
He's a big old boy.
Big old boy.
Big old boy.
So we're talking like the first 15 to 20 pounds, I would want to make sure that I was in best condition as possible. Now, gaining those 15, 20 pounds, I didn't do what most people do. It's very easy to gain 15, 20 pounds in the first week of coming out of a cut if you're eating wrong. I would spend 8 to 10 weeks putting that weight on, right? And in that time, what you'll find is that you'll get your energy levels back up to what they should be, right? You'll be able to get your hunger under control, but you won't get out of condition, and you'll have a metabolic response in that time where you can start adding more food. So what you've got to realize is that when you've done a hard cut, you've got into great shape, you are low body fat, man, take the time to reverse diet, because that's really what it is. You're going to reverse out of that diet. And yes, in the first couple of weeks, it is going to be hard, but those are the most dangerous weeks, because it's in those weeks that you can easily gain body fat. It's in those weeks that you can easily undo a lot of your progress. It's in those weeks where you can gain a lot of water retention, which doesn't bode well on your body. It's not just about how you look. What a lot of people don't realize is that when you come out of a cut and you've gained 20 pounds rapidly, you're putting your internal organs, you're putting your heart under a lot of duress and under a lot of stress. You're growing faster than a pregnant woman, for fuck's sake, right? So you've got to be mindful of this. Not all weight is good weight. You are going to look better. You're going to be in a better position if instead of gaining that 15, 20 pounds after a week, you spread out over 10 weeks and you've taken the time to slowly increase your food, monitoring your body along the way, making sure that you're staying in condition, making sure that your weight is going up in a controlled way, making sure that you'll see the performance and pump increase in the gym, right? So be mindful. Coming out of a hard cut is one of the most anabolic times that your body will experience. And if you use that right and slowly, bring your food in, right? Be accountable with it, right? Make sure that you're monitoring how your body is responding and take your time with it. I tell you something now, you will set yourself up for the best muscle gaining phase that you've ever had. I can't even begin to tell you. It's almost miraculous at how much progress you can make in terms of muscular gain, right? After coming out of hard cut, if you do things right. This is what I try to do with every client, right? So for each client, obviously how their body responds to the food that I put in is going to be different, right? But the process is the exact same, whether they've got a good metabolism, whether they've got a bad metabolism, whether they store fat easily or they don't store fat easily. The process is going to be the same. We want to reverse engineer it, slowly adding food in, right, when it is needed, making sure we're monitoring how their physique is looking and making sure that they're not losing that condition. If they have the mental willpower, right, to stay that course over, say, a 10 to 12 week period, they will go on to have the best muscle gain phase that they've ever had. So don't be mindful of that and don't misunderstand how anabolic the body is and be aware as well about how you're going to feel. Be aware that you will have massive hunger pangs. Be aware that it will be a new challenge and feed your body up the correct way, right? And like I say, you will start off a bulking phase or an off season in the best position you possibly could be, where you're filled out again, you've gained a good 10 to 15 pounds, you're still in great condition, and then you can start to go deeper into a bulk where now you've got a lot of food, maybe reduce your training frequency, right? Really focus on getting stronger. But those first 8 to 10 weeks, they're a very vulnerable time. And if you don't do it right, you'll end up getting a lot of fat and getting a lot of water, putting your body under distress that it doesn't need. If you do it right, you'll honestly begin the best muscle gain phase that you've had.
Yeah, bro, 100%. Some of the best years that we had of muscle gain was directly after a really hard cut. So we'd deliberately really hard cut and then we'd rebound correctly and in the correct manner. And your body is so anabolic at that time that you don't even need to be pushing any supplements at that time. Even if, you're coming off back of a contest diet or a really hard cut, your body is so anabolic and in such a good state that you could actually take most of those supplements out, most of the anabolics out, and still make better results than you would if you were taking stuff. The thing is that I get it. What I've said is the most true thing. It's all a mental battle. And I see there's two ways to rebound from the diet. The first way I think works better than the second way, but I get it. Some people may struggle with the first way. So the first way I would do it is actually just start at where you finished your diet off. So exactly same calories, exactly same sort of routine, and slowly creep calories back into your diet. Yeah. So every week, just monitor it, slowly creep back and back. And what happens over a certain amount of time, your calories have now reached a good point. You're feeling really energetic. Your pumps in the gym are crazy. Your strength's going up. You're seeing the muscle gain. You're seeing the weight gain with minimal condition loss. That is, for me, the best way of doing it. The other way, and this is completely personal and dependent on how you are feeling mentally, because I get it, after a competition and you don't have that goal in sight, that immediate goal in sight, it becomes very hard to continue the way that you do generally at the end of a diet. You're lethargic, you're tired, you have no energy, your sex drive is down, your motivation is down, and now all of a sudden you don't have an immediate goal of a competition or a photo shoot or being beach ready. But if you can mentally get past that, then another way of doing it is just bumping your calories up by quite a bit. So let's just say, for example, you're on 1500 calories. You could go straight to 2000 calories. And yes, there might be a bit of initial gain, but that will even out over a certain amount of time. And some people need that because they're feeling so fucked from a cut.
Yeah.
The initial little bit of extra calories and extra weight gain is going to be more beneficial for them in the long term than trying to eke out 100 calories this week, 100 calories that week, 100 calories this week. Where a lot of people go wrong when they're told to add a good amount of calories back in, they go straight into a massive surplus. So it's like going from 1500 to 3000. That's when, like Asta said, you'll have this big weight gain, you'll have this big water gain, you'll retain so much water that you're just going to undo weeks and weeks of hard, proper work. So if you can either A, slowly creep them back in, or B, give yourself a little bit of a bigger calorie take-in, then slowly, as I've said, increase the calories over the time, increase your strength over time, increase your training over time. Your body is in a state where I'm telling you, if you do it properly, these will be the best gains that you will ever make, because you can make in this period of 8 to 12 to 16 weeks, you can nearly make a whole year's worth of muscle gain in that period of time.
Yeah, completely agree. And just to add on top of that, so like I say, if you've done a contest prep, you're in the condition of your life, or you've done a cut and you're in the condition of your life, don't miss out on the golden opportunity that so many people fuck up that lays ahead of you. You can engineer a situation, and think about it logically what I'm going to tell you. Ideally, you want to engineer a situation where you maintain your body's sensitivity for as long as possible alongside your condition. So if you go into it with a strategy, right, and you think to yourself, well, I want to get the biggest bang for my buck. What I used to do is I used to increase my food as slow as possible, making sure that I'm eking out as much progress as possible with each food increment. Because the key thing is, if you can keep your body very insulin sensitive, which it will be coming out of a cut, right? You know what I do. When you're on a cut, even if you have 50 grams of carbs extra, you can feel it in the pump in the gym, right? Your body just sucks that nutrient up. If you engineer a situation and you're smart, so you think about it logically, building your body from a logical standpoint. Well, here I am. I'm in the most sensitive position that I've ever been because I've just been on a hard cut, right? Or I've done a contest prep. Now, the key thing is if I can maintain that for as long as possible by being smart with my nutrition, reverse dieting, right? Then what's going to happen is you're going to make a lot more progress and you're going to stay in a lot better condition, right? And you're going to go a lot further with your bulk. The thing not to do is what so many people do, which is just simply fucking blow up after a hard fat loss phase or a contest prep, gaining too much weight too quickly, eating too much too soon. And then they find themselves in a position where they've already started their bulk. They've already started their off season a couple of weeks in, right? In a bad position because they let their hunger get out of control. They've let their body fat get out of control. They've done too much too soon. And now they're standing there and they don't have a leg to stand on to bulk with, because the first thing they're looking at is, well, I've got to drop this water and body fat. And putting your body through that violent cycle where you've been dieting hard, then all of a sudden you balloon up, then you try dieting hard again, you actually create a situation where your body doesn't respond nowhere near as well as if you just fucking take the time to increase food slowly, monitor your body, be accountable, and be focused. Of course, it's a challenge. You're going to feel hungry. You're going to want to eat everything inside. But you've got to maintain that mental state, because if you can do that, the first couple of weeks coming out of a hard cut or a contest prep, I can't tell you the difference it's going to make to your off season, the difference it's going to make to your muscle gaining phase. You can engineer it. You can actually engineer that coming out of that to be the best phase of muscle gain that you've ever had. And I use it as a springboard for every bulk that I did. That was where I developed my head start. That is where I kind of developed the starting energy of the bulk and how it's going to be. Again, the goal was fill out as much as possible, right? Stay in best condition as possible and keep the body as sensitive as possible. Literally drip feed the body the nutrition, right? And then that way you will make so much more gains. So hopefully that helps you. Go to the next question now. Okay, so the next question is a really good one, actually. It kind of goes on from what we're talking about. For someone who is untrained and has an average build, right, is it possible to get big in, say, 3 to 6 months? And this is a question that I get all the time. I don't just get it from new clients. I get it from people reaching out to me and DMing me. So I'm really happy to be able to cover this and give you some proper insight. So the common question that I get is that, look, you know, I want to put muscle on. I want to build some size, right? I want to build some strength. Like, how quickly can I do it? Now, I think, if I'm honest with you, a lot of people are misled in today's social media sort of society. So when you look at a lot of guys, right, or girls, right, and you will see them, it's a bit of I'll be honest with you, it's misleading, because you'll see them making progress. And what a lot of them are not telling you is that you don't, look, I'm not shitting on anyone here. I'm just being honest with you guys. A lot of these photos that people post up, one, they're enhanced, and number two, they're using performance enhancing drugs, right? You've got to realize gaining muscle as a natural and gaining muscle on anabolic steroids are two different journeys altogether, right? And your goal should be is to gain as much muscle as you naturally can do. Or if you are using PEDs, use as minimal as you can do for maximum result. So this means that if you're going either of these two routes and you're not abusing like a hard, heavy cycle, then the truth be told is that you've got to understand the reality of what it takes to gain muscle. So I'll say this every single time. Gaining muscle is one of the hardest pursuits that you'll ever do, unless you're genetically gifted, which there are people out there. I've had clients like that. He's had clients like that. We know people like that. But for the majority of society, gaining muscle is the hardest thing that you will do. So when you look about building a body, right, a large segment to your year, so let's look at a year period. I would honestly say you want to dedicate 8 to 10 months in terms of bulking and maybe 2 to 3 months in terms of cutting, especially at the beginning stage. If you're sitting there right now and what you're lacking the most in your body is actual muscle mass, right? Actual muscle tissue, size and strength. You don't want to be spending a lot of time cutting, man, right? You want to be spending time bulking. Do you want to know why? Because you cannot manufacture muscle tissue that quickly. What you've got to understand is that nobody's body wants to be big. Nobody gains muscle by accident, right? People's body wants to be lean, and I'll tell you why. You put anyone on a good, real food quality diet and they're active and they're being fit, what happens? They drop body fat. Mm-hmm. That's what the body wants to do. The body wants to be in shape, right? That's why when you move and you eat right, what fucking happens? You lose body fat, you get into better shape. However, gaining muscle is something that your body doesn't want to do. So you're now having to force the environment, force the situation. And you guys have got to look at it logically, right? So I will break this down for a lot of clients and a lot of people that message me, and they're like, Ashley, do you know what? I never looked at it in that way. Let's say you're trying to build a bigger chest. Let's say you're trying to build bigger arms. Let's say you're trying to build bigger shoulders. Do you really think you're going to add inches of muscle over a 10, 12-week period where you've worked your chest out 10 times, 12 times? You've worked your shoulders out 10, 12 times. It's not going to happen like that. If you look at, okay, well, how much muscle can I gain over 30, 40 weeks? That's a whole different ball game. You cannot rush this phase. I know what it's like because I've been so skinny myself. I know what it's like when you want to gain muscle and you want to do it in a hurry, right? But the truth of the matter is you've got to make peace with it. It's going to be a long-term pursuit. You want to look at the fact that if you really want to level up in terms of size, so you want to get to a situation where you're going up a t-shirt size, right? You're fitting into clothes that you haven't been able to fit into before and you're filling them out. You're hugging the sleeves with your arms. You can see your pecs are growing. You can see your back's getting wider. You can see your quads are getting thicker. Right? If you truly want to take yourself up a level in size and you want to genuinely reach a level of new development, then you're going to have to make peace with the fact that you're going to have to put in a good 8 to 10 months, in my personal opinion, minimum, to gain that muscle. And your focus during the off season and during the bulking phase needs to be very simple, right? It's not about just forcing food down your throat. It's about making sure that, number one, you've got enough food in your daily diet that you are able to recover from hard workouts and you're able to perform better in your workouts. Because there's people will say to you, you know, that just get stronger. That's how you get bigger. People will say to you, just eat more. That's how you get bigger. It's a combination of everything. So when you look at building muscle size, it's a trinity, right? First of all is your recovery. Recovery is just as important as diet, just as important as cardio, just as important as supplementation. So you need to be making sure that you've got good recovery. You need to be making sure that you're eating enough food to put size on, to perform stronger in the gym. And then when you go to the gym, you've got to give your body a reason to utilize that food that you're eating by training hard, by training intensely. You need to look at the movements that you're doing now, and every single exercise that you're performing for a body part, in 10 months down the line, you want to be stronger across the board. You almost want it to be a position where the weights that you're using now, in 10 months' time, are going to be relatively easy, dare I say, warm-up weights for you. You see, that's how you build muscle, that every single week you've got to go out there, and whatever body part you're training, you've got to ask yourself the question that, have I pushed myself further? Whether it's an extra rep, whether it's an extra kg on the bar, right? Whether it's better control with the same weight, but am I pushing myself intensity-wise further than the last workout that I did? So your training is pivotal. Too many people that I see overtrain. Why? Because they go on the internet and they'll see their favorite social media star who's doing a high volume workout, and really you're in no position to do that. When you're looking to gain muscle, you've got to stick to the basics. Get strong in compound movements that work the whole body, that allow you to get a lot stronger. Build the basics up first, right? Make sure that you're getting in enough food and being regimented with it. Just like on a cutting phase, where you will incrementally remove food so you can get leaner, the bulking phase should be just as consistent. You should be just as meticulous in your bulk. If you really want to gain a good amount of muscle, then you should know, what am I eating on a daily basis? How much food am I getting in, right? And then you've got to monitor that. See how you're performing in the gym. Are you getting stronger? Are your pumps good? Are you training intensely? What is your weight doing over a 2 to 3 week period? You don't want to be, if you're gaining weight every single week, I can guarantee you're going to start to compound in body fat, right? So you want to take it nice and slow, give yourself enough food to train hard, to recover from, to grow from, and then literally layer that up as you go along. Typically when I'm bulking and I want to gain a lot of muscle, when I'm working with clients, I'll actually reduce their volume on their training as they get deeper into the bulk. Why? So they can focus more on recovery and they can focus more on strength when the body's fighting back to gain any muscle. You've got to have a strategy with it. Gaining muscle is very difficult, but if you do it right, it will literally change your life. It will change your whole physique shape. I always tell people that losing body fat will get you into shape. Building muscle will actually change your shape itself, right? So the key thing is this, is that first of all, give yourself enough time. Don't go in. If you're looking to gain muscle, you're not going to do it. Unless you're taking a really heavy anabolic steroid cycle, you're not going to gain a huge amount of size in 10, 12 weeks, right? Give yourself at least 8 to 10 months, right? Your whole focus during a gaining phase should shift from how you look necessarily to how you're performing in the gym. Because if you can perform in the gym as well as you can on a bulk when you're on a cut, then you're not doing either right. I can tell you right now, when I was bulking up, every time I would bulk up, my whole obsession, my whole focus became, how hard can I train? Because I knew that I had the food in me to be able to train hard every single workout, and I had the food in me to recover well, right? And when you're doing that, you should see performance increases every single workout, right? And then as time goes on, you can bring that volume down so you can focus on continuing that momentum, off getting stronger, off being able to recover well, because now you're stronger, that could do more damage to the body. That's what people don't realize. As you get stronger, you need less volume to grow from. So be mindful of this. Don't overtrain, right? Make sure that you're on a power building workout, right? That is encompassing compound movements so you can genuinely progress, right? Do accessories, but don't go crazy with them. They're just taking away from your growth, right? Make sure you've got enough food and then layer it up as you go along. As you're going along, evaluate your progress, add food when it's needed, right? Make sure that you try to stay in reasonable condition, keep your heart healthy and fit by doing cardio. In the off-season, bulking phase, I recommend short duration cardio, high intensity. That's going to keep your heart fitness up. It's going to help you recover better. It's going to help you perform better. Keep a diary to keep track of what you're training. It's not about beating the logbook. It's about understanding that you're going in the right direction, right? And just take time with it. I guarantee you now, you settle down to the fact that, okay, for the next 8 to 10 months, I'm going to spend time putting muscle on. I'm going to be meticulous with my food intake. I'm going to increase when it's needed. I'm going to be intense with my training. right? And I'm going to make every workout count. Over 30 to 40 weeks, you'll fucking transform your size. And then when you cut, you'll have something to cut from. It's like you'll be sculpturing a new mass, which will reveal a new body.
Bro, 100%. That's the thing. The end goal when you are bulking is that you want to have a physique that's in your mind. So in your mind, you have a physique that you want to obtain, and you know you don't have the muscle there at the moment. So you're thinking, how can I get to that physique? The boring stuff, the bulk ups, is how you get to that physique. The leaning down is just getting rid of that fat to sculpt that physique. But if you're standing there and you want bigger shoulders, you want bigger legs, you want bigger arms, that's not going to come from cutting. It's never going to come from cutting.
No,
it's only going to come from increasing the muscle mass that you have. And like I just said, 95% of people have average genetics, and for them, bulking and gaining muscle is really hard, right? And even those 5% who have elite genetics, they have to do the exact same, but they just gain it at a quicker rate. So it's not like they're dieting and getting bigger. They are doing the same thing, putting the same work in, but they are able to gain more. So they're doing what you're doing, but their results are better. It doesn't mean that you don't have to put the work in. I liken this to saving for a house, right? Let's just say your end goal is this big house, yeah? And you've got two options. You can either do the boring stuff, which is save up, give up on some social activities, dim down, live a bit more of a average lifestyle, live within your means so you can save up. Or you can get all the instant gratification and spend all your money every month, and then after 5 years, you're in the exact fucking same position.
Yeah.
That's very similar to cutting. You can stay in shape and stay lean, but in 5 years, believe me, you would not have gained the muscle and the size that you would have wanted to if you were able to spend elongated period of times in a muscle gaining phase. So it's boring and it's not sexy, because when you are dieting every week, you get to see new lines, you get to see new cuts, you get to see new shapes, but that is not going to increase your muscle size. How many people do you see year after year who are lean and they're the same weight, they're the same size, their arms are the same size, their shoulders are the same size, their legs are the same size, their chest is the same size, because they haven't given themselves that period of actual muscle growth? Because it doesn't just happen. Like I just said, the body doesn't want to just gain muscle. It doesn't happen accidentally. You're not going to start picking up weights and your muscle just starts increasing. There has to be a plan in place to increase that muscle through months and months of hard training, months and months of good recovery, months and months of heavy eating that puts that muscle there, that once it's put there, never goes. As long as you can train and maintain. Me and Afs weight train 1 to 2 days a week. No one believes that. But when we were putting those hard yards in to put the muscle there, that's what's allowed us now to be able to actually maintain the large amount of muscle that we've built on relatively fuck all. That's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yasser touches on a pivotal point there. One of the biggest things and one of the biggest reasons that I see people don't gain the muscle that they can do, right, is because they get too tied up into visually how they're looking. You've got to understand the phase that you're in. You've got to understand the battle that you're fighting if you want to win. And if you're in a bulking phase, guess what? You are going to get softer. If you're in a bulking phase, guess what? You're going to put some body fat on. And it can be disheartening because you look at yourself in the mirror and you can almost feel like you're going backwards. Believe me now, we've been through this in literally every bulk, because you're literally seeing yourself slowly get out of shape, right? But what you've got to realize is that you're in a bulking phase. You're not meant to be looking more muscular. You're not meant to be looking more 3D. You're not meant to be looking more shredded. When we talk about taking pictures, you will always look your best in a picture the leaner you are. You'll also look bigger in a picture the leaner you are. Why? Because muscle separation creates shadow. It makes the muscle look 3D. The more muscular the physique, the more impressive it will look in a picture because of that separation, because of that condition. On a bulk, you're not going to get that. When you take pictures, you're going to be thinking to yourself, shit, man, I'm going backwards. I'm seeing lines disappear. I'm feeling my shape look a bit blurry, right? I'm looking soft. And then people think, oh, well, I can't handle this. Let me get lean. You are never, realistically, you're never going to stay in great shape while building a new shape. The two don't go together. The only time that you will see people stay in phenomenal shape and be able to gain good amounts of muscle, I'm just going to be real with you because I don't like to lie, is when they're using a heavy steroid cycle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to use a heavy steroid cycle and you're lean, you will blow up like a balloon, right? But that's a short-term and short-lived experience, and you're putting your body under risk that you don't need to be taking, all because you didn't want to put a bit of body fat on. Do you know what I mean? Like, understand the actual phase that you're in. If you can make peace with that and say, okay, while I'm on a bulk, my focus isn't what is my condition. That doesn't mean that you go crazy and get fat. It just means that you're not worried about getting softer. You're not worried about, gaining a bit of body fat. And you think, well, my main goal here now is to just get on a hoodie and just train as hard as fucking possible. Disconnecting from that changed my life. Just when I went into a bulk, I was a different human being. When I was in a bulk, I didn't think like a bodybuilder. I knew that when I was taking pictures, I was going to be less conditioned. I knew I was going to see less separation. So why am I looking at myself under the lens of a bodybuilder? When I was in the off season, I thought, I want to be thinking like a powerlifter. I want to be thinking like a strongman. I want to eat and I want to train hard and I want to get strong as fuck. Because if you do that and you can just literally switch your mindset to that to a complete opposite to when you're bulking, you will gain so much size, and that's ultimately what's going to change your physique. You don't realize that to change shape, right? Building muscle is the only way, and the only way to build a good amount of muscle is making peace with the fact that you are going to lose some condition. You are going to get softer. You are going to gain a bit of body fat. Who fucking cares? You're in a different phase. You don't have to be in condition all year round. Don't set false expectations for yourself because you see people online posting pictures in condition all year round. So many of these people now are getting called out because their photos are edited. They're photoshopping them, making them look rounder, making them look harder. Truth be told, back in the 90s, right, back in the early 2000s, it was a well-known fact that when you were off-season as a bodybuilder trying to gain a lot of muscle, that you look more like a powerlifter. Mm-hmm. You look more like a strongman, right, where you'd have a good silhouette shape, you have good traps, delts, arms, but everything would be smooth. There's many off-seasons where I had a belly, many off-seasons. It didn't bother me because I knew I could get rid of that belly, but I knew building 20-inch plus arms was going to be hard, right? So focus on the phase that you're in. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. And then when you go to cut, it'll be so much more exciting because you can switch your mindset again. Okay, now it's about the visual. Now it's about how I look. Yeah. And you will enjoy both. You get the best from both worlds. So don't have that limiting mindset belief and understand the beast that you're dealing with, and you will make so much progress. So go to the next question here. We've got two more. We've got time for two more. So the next question I've got is, how do I get rid of MOOBS, aka known as man tits?
Big old titties.
Big old titties.
Big old titties.
There's a lot of guys walking around now who, unfortunately in a position where they do have MOOBS, they do have man tits, they do have big old titties, right? And I get a lot of guys basically like, Afsa, what do I do? Well, it's a combination of two things, right? So it is possible to be having man tits, right? Or MOOBS or whatever you want to call them, big old titties, right? There's two reasons you can have them. One, you might have gyno, right? Whether that's anabolic steroid induced or just from natural puberty. There are many people that I've worked with who do have that gyno. And then you also have guys who are out of shape and they've got the deposit around the nipple area, around the lower chest where it does look like a little titty is forming, right? And I get it. Believe me now, like, a lot of men who are watching this are going to know what I'm saying. The way that your chest looks as a man is a lot to you, right? It can really affect your confidence. I know guys that will go on holiday and they will not take their t-shirt off because they got MOOBS, right? Because they got those man tits. I know so many guys who are inconfident in an intimate situation with a partner or a girlfriend because of what they got going on. And that's why I want to ask this question, because you can fucking absolutely help yourself. You can absolutely reverse it. It's a combination of two things, right? So three things really. So if you're suffering from MOOBS, if you're suffering from man tits, if you are unhappy with the way that your chest is looking, right? It's looking a bit titty-ish. How do we go around that? Well, you've got three potential ways that you can go. The first two are definitely going to help you regardless. The third way is if you're using anabolic steroids, right? So the first thing is you need to lose body fat. That's the first thing you've got to do. You've got to drop that body fat, right? To a point where you've got that as minimal fat on that chest as possible. How do you know that your body fat is low enough on your chest? The chest will start to have that square armored look, that square pectoral look. What you've got to realize is that underneath that body fat, every single one of us has obviously got muscle, right? And relatively the same sort of shape. So when you lose enough body fat, you will get that tie-in that goes from the nipple up to the armpit that creates that square chest look. Now, your chest, after losing a lot of body fat, still won't look great. The key is this is what I do with clients. Once you've got that body fat off your chest as much as possible, then you've got to fucking build the chest up. If you can add 1 or 2 inches to your chest of muscle tissue, right, and you've got the low body fat now, your chest will change its complete shape, right? Key thing is as well, so many people don't realize, focus on the upper chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Build that upper chest out. If you build that upper chest out, you're going to look like you've got less of a moob, less of a tit going on there, right? So the combination of dropping body fat and building up muscle tissue, which is not a quick thing. You're not going to do it in 3 months. You're looking at a year period, but a year to undo years of pain, right? Is not a big sacrifice. Building up the muscle and dropping the body fat is going to absolutely change the whole look of your shape. So don't sit there upset. Sit there. If you're upset and you're depressed about the way your chest is looking, then you should be doing something about it. And to do something about it is a combo of 2 things. Drop the body fat so that you have the pectoral tie-in, right? And build up the muscle so the chest itself is looking thicker from top to bottom. This will completely change the way that your chest looks. The last way is if you are suffering from induced gyno, right? From anabolic steroids or from really bad episode with your puberty, then realistically, you want to go get estrogen levels checked, right? And you want to put in an anti-estrogen. There's a combination of anti-estrogens you can take. Typically, for most guys with bad gyno, the quickest thing to reduce it is going to be letrozole, right? But it's very harsh on your internal system. A lot of bodybuilders take anti-estrogens and they don't realize the damage that anti-estrogens, most of them, like Arimidex and letrozole, that they pop like candy, will fucking damage your arterial health, will skew your cholesterol profiles. You can't fucking take that as a long-term solution. So yes, a harsh anti-estrogen will help reduce your estrogen level. Then you want to go into a more neutral, a more less intense anti-estrogen, something like aromacin, right, which is very mild, which will stop estrogen from rising. Aromacin is not good at bringing estrogen down. Aromacin is good at stopping estrogen from going up. Novadex is good at stopping estrogen from going up, right? So once you've got your estrogen in a good position, you shouldn't suffer from more gyno. If you still have a lump formation and it hasn't reduced, then your only option, so if you actually feel your chest and there's a hard lump behind your nipple and you've treated it, you've got your estrogen levels down, you're running an anti-estrogen like Aromacin or Novadex, right? The only route forward for you is you're going to have those glands cut out through surgery. And that's life-changing. I know guys who've been carrying around those hard lumps. Their chest is completely muscular, but behind the nipple, you can see that puffy, hard lump. And they've tried the anti-estrogen route. The best thing you could do, in my personal opinion, is get them removed surgically. Why? Because you don't want to be running anti-estrogens your whole fucking life. Do you know what I mean? You're asking for issues. Yes, it might get your estrogen down, but it's going to cause a whole host of other issues in terms of cholesterol, in terms of arterial health. So think about that. Justin, you got any input?
Yeah, no, exactly the same. So the first thing you want to do, like Esther said, is you want to know whether it's just fat or you actually have gyno there. And obviously the first way that you would do that is by losing the body fat. That's why I say you drop body fat and then see what you're actually working with. When you drop body fat, you might notice, because some people do actually get it, where they are maintaining and holding a lot of body fat, the chest appears tight, and it's just because that's just the way their body is holding the fat. So once you've dropped fat and you are at a lean state, you can then truly tell if there's actually a problem or whether it was just excess fat. And the next thing that I said, which is really important, that bit that gives the chest, that separates the chest from looking like a tit to an actual chest, is the upper and middle part of your chest. Because that is just, that's a square. And if you cut that out, what are you left with? You are left with the natural shape of how a tit looks. So once you start to build some extra muscle up there, again, that will visually let you know where you are. And the last thing, like I just said, so if after both of that, building some muscle, losing some fat, you are still holding it and you are taking anabolics, letrozole, like as I said, is the best way to straight away shut that down. Yeah, it shuts it down. It's a very quick thing, but it's very harsh on the body. And then you'd have to look at anti-estrogens just to keep it at that level. And then obviously the last way, like as I said, is if you have been through all of that process, you've lost the body fat, you've managed to build a very muscular chest, you've used anti-estrogen when required, then absolutely surgery is and might be the only option for you. Because like you say, it's for people that we know people have had it. It's actually a life changing thing that they can go through.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think we've got time for one more question.
Yeah.
And then what I will do is I'll go into a bonus. Jessa will leave the podcast and I'll go into a bonus question at the end.
I'm stuck in the matrix.
He's stuck in the matrix, you see. Okay, so the question that I've got here now is a good one. And it is, I notice you use different diet methods and with different clients. Can you explain why? Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I'm really against, right, is this whole thing of one diet fits everybody, because that doesn't really exist, right? So when I'm working with a client, and something that I do regularly is I will share client diets all the time. And it's interesting because I have coaches message me, which I get quite dumbfounded about. And they'll be like, oh, officer, why are you posting your client's diet? Why are you giving secrets away? There's no secrets to give away. Every single person that works with me, their sort of path to get into the shape of their life is a completely different puzzle for each and every one of them. It's a combination of things. What you've got to understand and what you've got to accept is that everybody's body responds differently, right? To training, to cardio, to diet. Yes, you've got the things in place, like in terms of losing body fat and in terms of gaining muscle, how to kind of do it. But for that unique individual, right, each person that I'm coaching, there's no two people the same. Like you can have literally 10 people that join up with me and they're all around the same height. They're all around the same body weight. They've all got different shapes. Each one of those 10 people is going to need a different route and method in terms of getting into the shape of their life. And it comes down to not only how does their body respond, it comes down to how do they respond on a mental level as well. What's their discipline like? What's their commitment like? What's their consistency like? What's their work ethic like? And then you've got to take into factor their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like what's their vocation? What job are they doing? How much recovery do they get? How hard are they working? Right? What's their sort of schedule like in terms of eating? So what you've got to realize is that I will use the diet method that I feel fits best for the client and their goal. So this is where people get surprised. I've got clients that I'm working with. I've got clients who are on ketogenic diet plans. I've got clients who are on vegan diet plans. I've got clients who are on vegetarian diet plans. I've got clients who are carb cycling. I've got clients who are intermittent fasting. I've got clients who are on carnivore. I've got clients who just count calories. I've got clients who just count macros, right? There's no right or wrong. It's what's right for you and what you can get progress with. The only consistent thing that I will have echo through most of my diets, well, pretty much all of them, is always try to use real food.
Yeah.
Always pick food where it's basically the ingredient is the food item itself. I will never veer away from that if you eat food that's from the earth, right, you're going to get a better result. You're going to see a better change. Now, we can argue all day about macros and calories and all that. And I don't even want to get into the argument. If you believe that you can eat a diet chock full of man-made food and have the same result when you're building a body, you're very wrong. Now, I'm not saying that everything that you eat has to be fucking real food, right? Because people like to go extremes. Oh, well, then I just won't have anything. Have balance, man. But just understand if your diet is based on real food, right, that's the foundation of it, you're going to do a lot better health-wise, and you're going to do a lot better in terms of building your body-wise, right? The look will always be better. Mm-hmm. So the key thing is that understanding that when you're working with a person, right, because people get overwhelmed, don't they? Like, you'll probably go out there on the internet. I have had so many clients go to me, and they're like, actually, do you know what it is? Is that I just need a coach to just tell me what to do. Because when I go on the internet and try and do things for myself, I get 10 different answers. And that's the key thing, you know? Because I give you an example. If I'm working with a nurse or a doctor, I'm not going to fucking put them on 6 meals a day, training 6 days a week, right, doing double cardio sessions, am I? They can't recover from it. They can't stick to it. They won't make progress from it. So example is this. If I'm working with, say, a nurse or a doctor, typically we'll use an intermittent fast. Why? Because they're on their feet all day. The only time they really get to eat is when they're shifted over or towards the evening. I'm only going to have them training 2 or 3 days a week because they can't recover from more than that. I'm only going to have them doing counting steps or low intensity cardio. Why? Because they're on their feet already all day. But then if I get somebody who's a young up and coming bodybuilder, right, has a basic job with their on a 9 to 5, sitting on a desk all day, they're not expending much energy, I know that they can get in 5, 6 meals a day. I know that they can train 4 or 5 times a week. I know that I can push them hard with high intensity cardio because their body will respond to it and they'll make progress with it. And this is the key thing, right? Again, similarly, I might have a client that is suffering from certain health issues where they'll be more suited to have a low inflammatory diet, like a carnivore diet, right? Or I might have a client where we're trying to recomposition them, right? Or that I notice that when they're dieting, they get very, very flat very easily, because that happens. When you diet a person down and you're trying to lose body fat, no one's body responds the same. Some people will maintain great muscle fullness and maintain great muscle strength. So I can push them with something more like a keto diet. But what if I've got a guy and I'm dieting him and I'm noticing that his physique is fading? I'm noticing that he's looking more stringy than more muscular, right? Then I'll give him a carb cycle. So the diet that you choose, there's no one diet for everybody, and that's why you have a coach. Because when you come to me, I'm looking at you on an individual basis thinking, okay, what is the best strategy and solution for this person to achieve the goal that they're looking to get after? And then I'll go into my toolkit of different diet approaches, different training approaches, different cardio approaches to make that a reality. So the whole point of having a coach is so that you don't think and you can just focus on doing. Because the biggest conundrum for a lot of people is this. I have made the decision that I want to get into the shape of my life. Then comes the question, well, what do I do? And we've been there. I spent years trying to understand how to build my body. And when I worked with a coach, he undone years of upset, years of struggle within 20 weeks. Within 20 weeks, I learned so much more about my body. And that's why I love coaching. Because when you come to me, I love the fact that you don't have to stress about what to do. You don't have to stress how to train, how to do your cardio. You don't have to worry about working out that puzzle. You've outsourced it. You've said, I want to achieve this goal and I want to fast track it, right? I want somebody with the right knowledge and the right experience and the right track record of working with thousands of people behind him to put a plan together for me where I know that if I follow that, I have the assurance that every single week I'm going to see my body change. And ask any one of my clients, that's the situation. But like I say to you, there's no set diet. You'll see people say, oh, just count your calories. Oh, just count macros. Oh, just eat that, just eat that. It doesn't work like that. Every person's diet is built around them, how their body responds, and the lifestyle they're keeping. And when you fine-tune a program on that granular a level, that is when you become a coach like me that gets results with any human being that I'm working with. Because I don't just use a blanket approach. I can't tell you how many people have told me they've come from a coach, right? And they wanted to get into great shape. And all that coach knows is how to get somebody into shape in a bodybuilding method. So I'm not saying that it won't work if you're eating 5, 6 meals a day and, you know, you're doing double cardio and all that. Of course you'll fucking get into shape. But is that something you're going to be able to stay consistent with? Is that something you're going to typically enjoy, right? Is that something that you're going to be really motivated by? Probably not. Probably you'll do that for 10 weeks and then go back to your old lifestyle. So it's about engineering a lifestyle, a diet plan, a training plan, a cardio plan that fits in with your lifestyle, right? That enhances your lifestyle, right? And gets you into great shape. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to touch on here. The first one, and we always talk about this, but it's good to reiterate it sometimes. All 5 of us, all 5 blood brothers come at the same woman. We all diet differently. Me and Afsa, if you take our carbs out, we start to fade. We start to look like a big old fucking flaccid penis. Yeah, our muscles sink down.
Yeah.
We lose our pump. We lose our pop. Straight away, this is how crazy it is. Straight away, when we used to diet, Afsa could send me a picture and I'd be like, your carbs are low, aren't they? I could send Afsa a picture. Oh, you've reduced your carbs. Because the physique took on a different look when we took carbs out. Ayub could fucking go weeks without carbs. And he would look full as a brick. He would look full as a house. He would look fucking brilliant. That's 5 blood brothers, and we all diet differently. And number 2, as I said, one thing I really don't like is this binary approach. You either do it this way or it's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's fucking never like that. One of the best examples, I'm glad you touched it, was working with a nurse. I worked with a doctor, 12-hour shifts. They ain't got time to fucking train. They ain't got time to eat 6 meals a day. You know what I've done with them? In the end, on the days they were working shifts, so 12 hours, and you generally nurse and doctors 4 on, 4 off. Those 12-hour shifts, the aim was just to get some food in when they could. Yeah, it was intermittent fasting. Go however long you can without eating, because believe it or not, when there's a life to save, chicken and rice don't really fucking matter. Do you know what I mean? Eating your chicken and rice meal doesn't really matter. And then we did 2 days. I'd do 2 full days of training and getting your food back up to a good level. Then on those days you're off, yeah, you could eat 4 meals a day, maybe 5 meals a day, whatever it may be. But there's not a binary approach. It can't be you either carb cycle or any other method is wrong. And that's where narrow-mindedness and a lack of education comes into it. That you can work with someone and actually employ with them different methods on different days to suit their lifestyle and to suit that day. Like for today, for an instance, we got up and we're filming this podcast. Me and Afsa both haven't eaten, and we probably won't eat till midday. What, is now intermittent fasting the thing? No, it's suited our day today. So we are inadvertently just going to end up intermittently fast because we're not going to probably eat till later. And that's the thing. If you sign up with a coach and you've told them or you've spoken to them and you've said, I don't think my body particularly works this way, and they just shove you on the same shit they shove everyone else on, that's not a coach. That's just someone who's regurgitating one thing that worked for them and treating everyone exactly the same. And that's where you've got to be wary of, because you could have such a bad experience, you don't have faith in approaching someone else or trying something else, because you just think, well, that's the blanket approach. That should work, and it hasn't worked for me. But everyone is different. Everyone is absolutely different. So you've just got to find out what works for you. And one thing I will say, I'll just finish on this, that everything is data. We're always, in our day-to-day life, we are always collecting data. So if you are eating a certain way and you find that you are more lethargic, or your pumps are not as good in the gym, or, you know, your energy levels are low, or your motivation is low, you can use that as data and feedback with your coach, with us, to see how you can better that, how you can improve that. And everything that you do can lead you to making better decisions and finding a plan and a diet that works better for you and your situation.
No, I completely agree. And that's the key thing to remember. A good coach, right, will not employ one diet strategy. A good coach, right, will have a toolkit of different diet approaches and will match the one that suits you best, right, and your goal best, your lifestyle best, and you as a person best. That is proper coaching. That is proper mentoring. That is why you'll see no 2 clients of mine have the same diet strategy, right, have the same path to getting into shape, because it varies from each person. If you look at it from an outside 2D view and you'd be like, well, it's calories in versus calories out, right? That doesn't answer anyone's fucking question. You can't just say to a person, okay, to build muscle or to lose body fat, just calories in versus calories out. You've got to look at their lifestyle. You've got to look at what diet fits can achieve that the best, right? You've got to look at what they can stay consistent with. You've got to look at what do they enjoy, right? You've got to look at what's their appetite, eating habits like. Like if I've got a client that says to me, man, I just can't have breakfast, I don't have the appetite, I'm not going to fucking force breakfast down their throat. I'm going to be like, say to them, do you know what? If you tend to binge at night, right, and because you're not hungry in the day, then fuck eating in the day,
yeah,
right? Let's do it intermittent fast. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Right? Similarly, I might have a client who I can see that when they're dieting, they're going very flat, right? So carb cycling will fit better. You know, this is the key thing. I might have a client that is suffering massively with arthritis or an inflammatory sort of disease. For them, a carnivore-esque diet is better, right? So you just gotta look at the person that you're working with, how their body responds, right? How they are looking, right? How their appetite habits are, what their lifestyle is like, and then you program the diet that fits the best with that allows them to get the result that they want. And I love it. I love puzzles. This is what I love. You going, or you got one more time?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go. Wow.
He's gonna have to shoot off now.
He's
just gonna go behind there and have a shooter.
It's fucking back to the Matrix for me.
So I will go into this question, and this is the question. Okay, so it's a juicy sexual one, and it's this one. What is my opinion on Primobolan, right? So many people say it's great, but just as many say it's a waste of money. So who to believe? This is going to be a good one. So I'm going to start off by saying this. In my personal opinion, Primobolan is the most underrated compound that there is. I really mean that. So many people sleep on how effective, right, and how powerful Primobolan can be in their cycle. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. So let's start with reason number one. Reason number one, and the most common reason that Primobolan is so underrated, is because most people think that they've taken Primobolan, but they haven't. What you've got to realize is this, right? For people that don't know. Some of you watching this may know, but most of you probably don't. Primobolan as a compound itself is incredibly expensive, right, to manufacture. You see, if you look at a bottle of testosterone, what most UGLs, produce, if you look at a bottle of testosterone, from start to finish, including the labeling and everything, you're looking at spending £2 to £3 to have that made, right? And then it's sold on for like 25, 30, 35 pounds. So you can see the profit markup there, right? Primobolan, to produce one bottle of Primobolan, can be up to 35 pounds, right? So what a lot of UGLs are doing, which is underground labs, which is where most people will get their Primobolan from, is they're taking what they think is Primobolan, but when you get it tested, it's usually testosterone propionate mixed with a low dose of masteron to mimic what you may think Primobolan will do. So really what you're taking isn't the Primobolan compound. Really what you're taking is just low dose testosterone and masteron at best, right? Because most UGLs, and I'm just being real with you guys, right, are not spending that money to produce a product that gives them so little profit. I know that they shouldn't do that, but unfortunately that is the case for most, right? That's the first thing. So a lot of you who think you've used Primobolan haven't actually used Primobolan. You've used a UGL lab that says Primobolan on it, but what's in the bottle is completely different, right? Secondly, Primobolan is also heavily faked in the pharma market. So a lot of people will get pharma replicas or what they think is Primobolan. Oh my goodness, it's Primobolan, right? Because it's the proper pharmacy ampule. And again, it's faked. Why? Because there's a lot of people out there that are very aware that they can make great money on Primobolan, right? Selling the pharmacy version. So you need to make sure, first of all, that your eyes are sourcing direct from pharma. And when you look at Primobolan directly from, say, Bayer, right, who produce Primobolan now, it's called Primobolan, right? And you'll notice on the amp, it'll always get 1.1 mil out. And when you turn the amp upside down, real Primobolan from Bayer will just drip. It won't be like a fluid oil. It'll just drip. It's a very thick oil when you get it direct from pharmacy. And it's very expensive. I've genuinely seen amps being sold up to 18 to 20 pounds per amp. That's how expensive that compound is. Alternatively, if you genuinely have a good source that's willing to get the compounds tested and prove that it's Primobolan, right, then obviously you'll have a good Primobolan. So know the compound that you're getting and know that it's real. Before you get into discussion of whether Primobolan is good or not, make sure you're using it. Now, the second thing that's really good about Primobolan is it's one of the only anabolic steroids, right, that has literally no negative side effects. So when you look at a lot of steroids taken over a duration of time, right, you're looking at potential heart risks in terms of heart growth, left ventricle growth, arterial damage. You're looking at it having an impact on your liver. You're looking at having an impact on your kidneys, having an impact on your internal organ system. And you have compounds that have really nasty effects mentally, like Trembolone, Winstrol, these sort of compounds. Primobolan is such a beautiful compound because in terms of blood work, you will see no real negative at all, right? In terms of side effects, you won't see any sort of negative mental effects. In fact, Primobolan, Arnold Schwarzenegger used to love it because it used to make you feel just better. You just feel in a better mood on Primobolan, right? And you're not having the worry then of left ventricle growth, heart growth, right? So you've got a relatively mild compound that you can take for a good duration of time, right? that is not going to elicit any negative, real bad side effects in your body. So you've got duration on Primobolan. People overlook this. It's versatile compound as well. You can use it in a cutting cycle and you can use it in a bulking cycle. The next thing, number 3, what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of people will shit on Primobolan because they'll be like, oh, it doesn't produce good gains, right? You don't blow up on it or you don't gain a lot of weight. Ask yourself why Primobolan was created. Primobolan was predominantly used, right, in the 80s onwards for AIDS patients. What is AIDS? When you have HIV, what you have is you have a disease where you are going to atrophy muscle tissue. And a lot of these guys that were suffering with AIDS, right, they didn't have the ability to eat the food that they would need, right, to get to number 1, counteract that muscle atrophy, and number 2, be able to put muscle on. Primobolan, if you research it for your fucking self, is one of the only compounds that will allow you to gain muscle tissue even in a severe calorie deficit. So it works incredibly well when you're on a cutting phase to gain muscle and on a bulking phase. Don't misconstrue weight on the scale like you would if you took Dynabol or Anadrol that will put your weight up in days. Don't misconstrue that as muscle. Primobolan taken over a duration of time will add literally pure muscle tissue to you. It just goes to work in the background, and over like a good, let's say 4 to 6 month period, you would have put on some real quality dry size where it's not bloat, right? It's not water retention. It's not putting your heart under those risks. It's not attacking your liver and kidneys and cholesterol in that sort of way, right? It's just working away in the background, just adding clean muscle tissue to you at a slow rate. And last but not least, right, what people don't realize is that Primobolan elicits a really good effect on how you look. So when you're on Primobolan, one of the most notable things that you'll find is that your body will have a fuller, drier look. The shoulders will look rounder, the chest will look fuller, the arms will look thicker, right? But it won't be in a bloated way, right? Where you just look, you know, like where you see somebody who takes Dynabol or Anadrol or something like that, or heavy testosterone, and they kind of have like a bloated outlook, right? Primobolan gives a very hard, dry look where the muscle just looks full, hard, and pumped out. And it's great because when you're in a cutting phase, right, one of the things that people struggle with the most is they go flat. And when you go flat, it fucks with your mind because you think you're losing muscle, you think you're going backwards. Primobolan, even in a cut where you are in a deficit, will keep the muscles nice and round and full, right? On a bulk, it will do the same. It keeps you nice, round and full. You have a good sort of semi-pump look all day long. And you don't need the dosages that you read. A lot of people think you need grams of Primobolan. Honest to God, if you're using real Primobolan, small dosages of like 300 to 600 milligrams maximum are going to yield fantastic results for you. And like I say to you, it's a compound you can use for a long duration. So if you were to use a combination of a low dose TRT dose testosterone and a low dose of Primobolan, you can gain a good amount of muscle off that over a long duration without putting your body at health risk, without putting your body under unneeded duress. Similarly, when you're on a cutting cycle, it will help you maintain more muscle, help you maintain a fuller look to your muscle. And again, you're not putting your body under duress. It's a fantastic, versatile compound. I want to be open and honest with you. I use it in most of my cycles. I couldn't rate it enough, but I went to great lengths to make sure what I was getting was real, right? It was a favorite of the 80s bodybuilders. If you look at that 80s look, where they have those full round sort of dry muscles, because a lot of those guys are using real Primobolan. So hopefully you enjoyed that segment on Primobolan, right? And until next time, have yourselves a positive day.